Hey, what's going on, everybody? You already know what it is. You are here with me, Jermaine, and my beautiful wife, Brandy. Why are you laughing?
Just come on.
You ain't like my intro?
I mean, it's your intro. That was funny. You know what it is.
Right, you know what it is. All right, so
Let's
we're
see.
we're, we're jumping on here um, on this episode, New Beginnings podcast. You already know where to go follow, like, and subscribe. YouTube, Spotify, Apple. About what was it, a month, maybe a month and a half ago, there was this list that came out from the whole thing about the girl that didn't want to go to the Cheesecake Factory. Then all of a sudden this list comes out, compiled by some women, about place they shouldn't go on the first date. So I've heard other podcasters talk about it, heard a lot of people give their perspective. I haven't really said anything. Me and my wife have had discussions, and I said, well, let me jump on the podcast, and if y'all don't mind, let's have a conversation with the Jacksons about, and if you see the title, it said, what's the purpose and motive of dating? Because me and my wife started talking about this list, kind of reflected back on when we were dating and before we got married and places we went. But what was the purpose and the motive behind us of dating? So we just have some thoughts. Now, these are just our thoughts, our opinions, how we feel.
Our opinion.
And so we just putting it out there. So we're gonna be having some questions for each other. And y'all could chime in and comment on what y'all think about it. So, Miss Jackson,
Sir.
first thing, I just want your thoughts on this whole the list that came out. You could look at it if you want. Your thoughts on the list first. I just want to see what you think.
I mean, when I first heard about it, I think I was driving in a car and they was talking about it on one of the radio stations.
Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Before we start talking about this, and she gonna come back. I know some people may look at us, y'all know, but y'all married. Y'all ain't been out here in these streets dating and being. I understand that, but trust, we have children that are young adults. We have children that are teenagers, and we have friends and associates that are out there. So I know we're not out there in the dating scene because we happily married. I'm not going out on. I mean, we date each other. We go out on dates together, but we're not out there trying to find the one. So, but we do hear a lot. We have to guide our children on, who you talk to, how you talk to, how you present yourself to someone. So, like I said, just our opinion that we just want to get some feedback on this. All right, back to you, love.
Like I said, I think when it first, started going viral, I was listening to it on one of the radio stations, and
Mm-hmm.
immediately when I got situated where I could go back and look and try to see the video, I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Like, and then just the initial video that went viral that sparked this whole list thing it was just wow to me. And then now just actually sitting here, like I saw him ramble everything off, but just looking at what is posted here, I think it's, as I'm looking, 28 things listed. I think we've done more than half
Got that right.
during the dating process. So I don't know if I just, for me, it was just unbelievable to say what can't be a first date, because for me, dating was about getting to know that person.
Mm-hmm.
I was never, and have never, and still am not, a person who's looked at about you got to go out there and spend a bag on me. I'm not, because I do that for me.
Right, right.
So is it not a good thing to have someone treat you, spoil you? Absolutely. But even on a first date or even dating, it's, for me, it's more or less about getting to know that person. So if we're at the Cheesecake Factory, Applebee's, I think our first date was Chili's.
Chili's, yes.
Still to this day, we go and get a two for whatever and have a ball. So it just seemed like, again, just seeing what was listed, it was like, then it made me think, like, am I thinking low? Because according to this list, that's low vibration
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing that. But I just think, for me, it's just, for me, dating is about getting to know that person. So personally, I mean, we could sit in the park on the bench or do some laps around whatever, which we've done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the time. I'm about that time and what your energy and my energy is doing. And if you wasting my time, because I could let you take me to a 5-star. If you waste my time, what I got to, and then the food might not be good. So for me, it's just about getting to know that person. And I've never been a picky person about where I go eat. Anyway, I'm picky about what I eat, but
not where
the
you
where.
go. Right. And I just want to say I totally agree with my wife that I mean, I understand there was a time in my life where I had that mentality. And for anybody that has a mentality that when you take a woman out, as far as a gentleman, you want to take her to a 5-star place, you want to impress her. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I've
Absolutely
been there.
not.
But I got to a point in my life, even when I was younger and trying to date and talk to women at that time. I mean, I took a young lady out years ago, back when I was like 18, 19. Took her out to a nice restaurant, paid some nice money for her meal. Took like 3 bites, said she was done. And the young lady was like, well, I don't want to take it home. I said, oh, no, you're going to take it home. So I paid my money. I paid a lot of money. You're going to take it to the crib. So that kind of got me out of the mindset of that, because I agree with my wife that dating to me, to us, is about getting to know the person. So if I'm getting to know you, does it really matter where we go? No, yeah, I'm not going to take you back to my house. Some places I'm not going to take you, because I want to get you in a place where we can talk, where we can understand each other. One thing I always tell my wife is that when I fell in love with her personality first because of our conversations. Trust me, she's extremely physically attractive to me. Don't get the game twisted. You know, I love the way this woman look, but our looks and our physical appearance can change over time. I told my wife, it's one thing that would change about her that I probably would have a hard time dealing with is if we couldn't have conversations, if we couldn't talk, because we used to go out. It wasn't about where we went. We knew we're going to go somewhere we can eat. We're going to find something on this menu that's appealing to us. That was Chili's. Sometimes we would stop at Wingstop and just sit down and eat. It could be Applebee's. Like I said, it could be in the park having an ice cream together. It wasn't so much about where and what we ate. It was about, let's talk. Let's go somewhere we can have a conversation. Let me see how your day went. As we continue to get to know each other, let's just find some places. And it wasn't about who could spend and me impressing her, taking her to 5-star. It wasn't about none of that. And that's why when I see stuff like this, and even I hear my children talking about this stuff, like my son Jeremiah is 18, and he told me this. He said, Dad, when I go on my real first, I'm gonna take a girl to White Castle. And I said, why is that, son? Now, some people would be appalled. You better not let him take no girl to White Castle. But I wanted to hear his reasoning. He said, because I want to see the motive of that girl. That if you can't come to me to White Castle, you say she's not that type of girl. His whole thing, what's your motive? He said, maybe I got the money to take you somewhere else, but I'm trying to figure out if you're trying to get to know me or you trying to get to know my pockets. That was his rationale. And I know some people think like, well, you know, you have to impress on that first date, but I defer back to my wife. What if that first date is the last date? Maybe they won't be impressed. Maybe they just wanted you to take them to a 5-star because they wanted a steak and a lobster or whatever it is. You know, we've all been to 5-star, whatever you're going to get, spend all this money. And then maybe the conversation sucked. Maybe this ain't somebody you even like. So maybe we need to go to a Chili's, because at least it's going to be inexpensive. Y'all can look at me and hear me and say, oh man, he just being cheap. But why does it take? I'm getting to know you. We could meet at a public park, take a walk and get to know, because that's why I asked the question, what's the purpose and motive of dating? Are we getting to know each other for a potential relationship that could lead to a marriage? Or is your motive to get a good meal? Is your motive to see, am I getting the bag? How much money I'm making as a man? Or is the motive to, I've heard some men say, if I pay so much for a meal, trust and believe, we going home together after that. So maybe the guy's saying, yeah, I'll take her to a 5-star, treat her real nice, give her all the ambiance. But my motive behind it is not to get to know you, not to impress you. If I do all this, I want something out of it. You're going to have to give me what I want afterward. And to me, when you're talking about dating, getting to know someone, people have ulterior motives. So if a woman tells me, well, you don't take me here on the first date, but why? I'm feeding you. Who's to say we can't have a nice time together? I think was bowling on there. Yes, bowling was on there. We can't go bowling just to have fun. Maybe I want to see, can you have fun? Because if you all about the impression, it's just, and I like I said, I think I have a gem in my wife. I truly have a diamond because she wasn't looking for all of that. She didn't mind where we went. She just wanted to spend time with me, with us, for us to get to know each other. Unless we went somewhere where the food wasn't good, then she'll have an attitude, not at me, or if we had bad customer service or something. But it's like, and I know times have changed, the world has changed. But as I look at all of this, I'm not so much taken off by the list, but it's more about the motive of the people in those situations. Like, what's your purpose in this? So if I'm saying we going to the Cheesecake Factory, which the Cheesecake Factory is delicious, we go
Absolutely.
there. That's our
Wonderful
spot. Get some good eats and some dessert.
Yes, I'm not sure who is responsible for that brown bread, but my God, the hands that were anointed. But I digress. I digress. But I just wanted to touch on when you were talking about the motives. Like, you know, when I was dating, or even before we got together, it was more or less like I was saying, getting to know the person. But then I think sometimes even before we get to the date, like, what was your conversations before you got to that date? Like, what were you talking about? What were you discussing before you decided, okay, maybe this is someone I want to take out anywhere, for that matter? So for me, I think some things have to be established before I decide that I'm going to go on a date. Like, what conversations, what's your morals? Like, who are you? So, and you know, and what I'm seeing, even just like you were saying, dealing with our kids, just this generation, this dispensation of period of time when it comes to dating as a whole, everybody's just, nobody wants to put labels on certain things. They just want to hook up or go out, or like you said, who got that? Who gonna take? Everybody wants somebody. Most females, and I'm not saying all, but some of them, you see, they want to be taken care of. They want someone to foot the bill. And I think the one thing that I like about you, every time we went out, you were the gracious gentleman that you are. But I think what messed you up is when I grabbed the bill one time. And you like, wait, what? I'm like, nah, I got it. Like, when I'm telling y'all, blew him, like the whole car ride, this man who can talk has no words. He like, wow, you sure? I'm good. We good. And then it was one of those things where I would periodically do it just to, no, we good. But it's sometimes you have to have that balance, or just those boundaries set, because for me, I didn't want anything from it. Now, thank God, what has come from it is what it is. We're married. I love him. But that was one of those things where when we started dating, we dated with intention. We dated with, like, we've both been through this, we've been through that. What are we doing here? There had to be some lines drawn, but I don't think sometimes people now do that. It's more or less, we going here, what can I get out of the situation? So when you were talking about the motives, I think sometimes it's, for me, it's like, what conversations are you having before you even get to that date? You know what I'm saying? Because then those conversations can deter or make or break a situation in some instances. Because if you're not saying something that's keeping my attention or drawing my attention to make me want to take you out to sit, or like, if you can't hold a conversation over the phone, what you gonna say to me at a 5-star that you can't say to me sitting at Chili's talking about pass the chips?
Right.
So
no, and exactly, babe. Like, I'm glad that you brought up about when you paid that time, because as a man, my thought process, I take care of the bill. That's the standard I have. But she flipped the script on me. But what it showed me once I got past the anger and that, 'cause I was upset about it, I ain't gonna lie.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, who is she to let me be the man, especially after some things that I know she had went through in her past situations where I felt that I wanted to show her that I'm gonna be that consistent support for you. But what it showed me is that even as we were in that dating phase, she was an independent woman, independent mother, taking care of her kids. I was, independent father, taking care of my kid. We were both functioning and supporting ourselves. We weren't leaning on anybody to support us. We were both working. But what it showed me is that because I believe that the man now, man and women, we both take care of our homes. Everybody's marriage has different roles in it, depending on how your home is set up. But I like to be the covering over my home. I like to be the leader of my house, and my wife stands alongside of me, and we build our home together. But there are times in the marriage where, when we first got married, 3 months after we got married, I got injured at work, and I was out for a couple months, couldn't work, was getting workers' comp. But if you ever got workers' comp, that's not your full check. And my wife was able to handle the financials, took care of me, took care of the house. But I saw remnants of that when we were dating. Because when you talk about the motive, yes, some women want to be taken care of. But guess what? Men like to be taken care of too. And I need to know. So let's say I impress you and give you the 5-star. I show you I got money and all of this stuff. What happens when I go down? Because if you fall in love with the idea of what I can provide, with the idea of my sustainability for our relationship, what happens if I lose everything? What happens if I physically or mentally can't go out and make things happen like I do? Are you going to hold me down? Are you going to stay? Some people are jump ship. That means they weren't even really in love with you or getting to know you. They were in love with what you could provide, what you could give them. That's why I think we talk about the purpose and motive of dating. I need to know, what do we get? Like my wife said, what's the intent of it? What's your intentions? That's why we got to have conversations that before we even get to the first date and dinner, what we done talked about on the phone. Like, it's like me meeting you for dinner, no matter where we go, should be the continuation of conversations we've already had about some things, like real intentional, purposeful stuff. Not no, hey, I just want to go out because I want to see you. I like you. You cute. That's cool too. But we grown as heck. We got situation stuff going on. We trying to build something. So when she did that, as a man, my pride got offended. But as a husband, I understand as we work together in this marriage and build together, I know that whether I go down or she goes down, we got each other. We're going to support each other. She taught me in that moment that it all don't have to be on me. This is a 50-50 situation when it comes to this. And so then after then, if there were times where she wanted to pay, I learned how to say, all right, well, go ahead and pay. I didn't trip on that. Some of you may hear that, oh, Jermaine, you're not a man for that. You crazy. I ain't know, because after she doing something right, I've been her husband for almost 7 years. So she got a whole husband out of it, and I got a wonderful wife. And this is not to, disregard or debunk anybody's thought of their dating thing, but we're just giving our opinions of it. And I'm not against anybody's standards and stuff like that. And I want to take this quick detour into standards. I heard this the other day. I was scrolling through social media, and they had David Mann, Tamala Mann's husband, and he was talking to someone about marriage. Him and his wife have been married for years, long marriage. And we talked about standards. We talking about lists. Every man and woman, sometimes when you date, you have your list of standards. Mm-hmm. When we're talking about the purpose and the motive of the everybody, this is what I want. And he said, if you want to find a perfect wife, perfect husband, he said, get your list, get your standards, put down how tall he want to look, talk about the kind of money, all of that. But then he said, you know how you're going to find that perfect person? Said, how? They said, when you become that list. When we're talking about the purpose and motive of dating, some people put in their request what they want from a person, but what you bring to the table. Do you even meet the requirements? Oh, I want him to have this much money in the bank. What you got in your account? I want him to have a 401k. Do you have one? I need him to have a nice car. Where's your car? When we were dating and leading up to marriage, we both had our own vehicles, jobs, money. It wasn't no chess match on who had more, who could. It wasn't about that. We both had our own. It was about bringing that together. And what I said, we were dating with the intent of, let's see if we can talk in this period of time, because our desire was to be married. So that was the intent of our dating. And when I heard him say that, I've never thought about it, because we both had a list of standards.
Absolutely.
What we were going to take, not going to take, what I need you to be. But I believe we both were that. And I really thought about that as I'm just looking at this list about what people ain't going on the first date. And I was looking at something else on social media today where this parody of this joke where a girl said something to a guy, but I need a guy that's a baller. And she was like, well, you live in the same apartment complex I do. It was funny. But the guy came back and they said, I live here by myself. Who you live? She said, I live with my mama. He said, you talking about my car, but whose car is that? Oh, that's my mama's car, but we share. He said, so how do you want all this from me and you ain't got nothing? She said, don't worry about me. I'm a prince. I'm supposed to be taken care of. And the guy was looking confused. So I heard that from David, man, and it just kind of struck something like when people are going into dating and a person is sitting there running down their standard, I need this, I need that. I hear you. What you got? Like what you bring into the situation? Because a lot of times, and as you see this pressure sometimes being put on men today by women, even my teenage kids. I've told my son, he's come home and share with me what these women want. Some of my older adults talk about what these women want, all this pressure, and they be like, man, ain't no point of dating because these females want too much. I ain't trying to bash women. I ain't saying, some of y'all may say, well, y'all men need to do better. But at the end of the day, if this dating stage is going to lead to a long-lasting relationship, possibly a marriage, at some point we got to work together. It all shouldn't be on me or her or him. Or it shouldn't be on just no one person. We working together to build something, this house, this family, these finances, the business we have. At the end of the day, we're working together. But if all I hear is I need you to do this, do that, do this, do that, that's first and last date. What you bringing to the table? So Love, you want to speak to that? Because I thought that was dope what he said on that. I think he was doing a podcast. I just thought that was dope when I heard that.
No, I mean, and what you're saying, I totally agree with as far as standards and being able to build. And I think for me and for us, I think why we work so well, because coming into this, we had a purpose-driven foundation. The foundation that we built was on a purpose. We knew what our non-negotiables were. I think like you were talking about, not just this particular list, but for me as a woman, I knew what I was looking for in a man. I wanted this, and this. And the one thing, when I got confident and comfortable with me and knowing what I had dealt with did look like this list, maybe I need to go back and refresh my list. Maybe I need to go back and review my list, because if I look at what I wanted, God gave me what I needed, because in some aspects, you are the total opposite of everything that I wanted. So sometimes when you date people, you have to look outside of what you want. Now, God will give you the desires of your heart, and not to make it that type of conversation. But at the same time, you can have what you want, but don't be so cemented in what you want to where you can't be flexible, because you might have a list and that person checks off 1, 2, and 3. But if they don't meet 4 or 5, is that like I'm done with them? Like, are you going to count people out because they don't check off every box? Like, where's their wiggle room? Where is there some leeway? Where's that grace? Because like you were saying, if this person's bringing 1 through 5 what if I'm coming to the table with all of this, what are you bringing? I'm coming 1 through 5 and all you got is you. Then we have a problem, because I got to carry 1 through 5, me and you.
Right.
So it's got to be some equal understanding. And I think that all starts with that conversation. The conversations that need to have in the beginning have to be purposeful, have to be meaningful. They have to be those purpose-driven foundations so that you can continue to build. Whether you're at the Cheesecake Factory or Ruth Chris, whether you're at Papa Do's or sitting at White Castle, whatever it is, there has to be some foundation between the two people of understanding, but you also can't be blinded by my wants. You can have the wants, but don't let that be your drive. Don't let that be your motivation that you discount because the people can't give everything you want. Not saying lay your wants and needs to the side, because sometimes people will do that just to go along. They go along to get along. Oh, I've been alone for this long. Let me just be. No, don't be nobody's doormat by no means. But at the same time, don't be so hell bent on what it is that you have purposely written. Don't write it in a Sharpie. Make it in a pencil. That way you can erase it every now and then and go back and revise it, revisit it, because life is life. And if the dating pool is anything like it was when we started, the pickings is very slim.
Real slim.
So you got to be very strategic in this time, because time is something that's not on everybody's side. You don't have time to waste. And if you're just out here to get a meal, then hey, do you. That should be able to be done wherever. But if you're out here dating with a purpose, and that purpose is agreed upon those two people, then you've already set the foundation for something that can be built on.
Man, that's real good, Sugarfoot. You're talking real good. Real talk. And yeah, I agree with everything she's saying, especially what she just said about the wants. I think one thing I've learned in the time I've been with my wife is that coming together in a blended family and starting out the way that we did, a lot of stuff was just hard. It was a lot of adjustments.
Talk about it.
A lot of things, even from our past, we both came into this out of divorces and a lot of stuff. So there was a healing process that we were still going through. I'm not going to say either one of us will totally heal. Either one of us could have figured this out. And then sometimes you have to have those hard truths in a relationship or a marriage, where I think I had a conversation with my wife, and hopefully we're going to get in here one day. We're going to talk about blended families and all of that. But I said, babe, I think some areas that when it came to bringing this whole thing together as a family structure, we were not successful in some things. Just, now, trust me, our kids are fine, our grandkids are fine, nothing like that. But when we sat in the dating stage discussing that hey, it's gonna go this way.
Yes.
Started reflecting, looking back, like it didn't go the way we thought it was.
We had to pivot.
Right.
There were pivots. There were detours.
Absolutely.
There were times where for us, we both can't take timeouts. Because this house can't function if we're both on the timeout. But there were times in this situation where it got heavy and we had to take a timeout.
Right.
And in those timeouts, we had to come back and regroup to say, okay, this is maybe what we thought it was going to be, but this is not what it is. So now how do we come back and redraw? Come back to the drawing board. How do we redirect the paths of what it is that we're trying to do so we can still get to that end that we had planned in purpose? It's been a bumpy road. No, don't get me wrong, but we're still getting there. And it may have taken us a little bit longer than we perceived it to be. But at the end, we're still getting to the ultimate goal, which is being able to be a happily married husband and wife, building ourselves individually, making sure that our children have everything that they need to be able to go outside those doors to be what they need to be in these next journeys of their life. So yeah, maybe it didn't hit every mark on the list when we made it, or it didn't go the way we planned it to go, but everything's not going to go the way you plan it.
Right.
But you have to be able to adjust to those audibles and then those redirects. And how the biggest testament of a redirect is how do you bounce back from it? And I think that's one of the things that we do really well is bouncing back.
Yeah, definitely. Our bounce back is very strong, and I see the turnaround and all that. And that's why I just wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about the whole purpose and motive of dating, because you got people in this world that's worried about where you taking me. You need to be worried about the conversation. Cause like I said, we both came out of divorce, both had kids. So you got different parenting styles. You're trying to bring all this together. And I think one of the things on the list, they said taking somebody to church on the first date. You shouldn't do that. So when we talk about being equally yoked, what do you believe? Just to put this in there a little bit. One of the biggest things that we both were moving on to that next stage in our life after being divorced is, what is your faith? What do we both believe in? Am I saying that two people that have two different beliefs cannot coexist? They can, but it has to be a lot of talks, a lot of agreement, a lot of compromise. But I'm thankful to God that our faith is in Jesus Christ. We both are advent and going to church and raising our children. So that was very important to both of us in that conversation. So if you see some of the things we talked about, and this is not stuff we talked about when we got married, as we were talking and dating with the purpose and intent of, do I want to be married? I think one of the first podcasts we did was, why did I get married again? We talked about it. All the questions, all the stand, everything we talked, what you bring to the table. So when we're talking about dating, I don't care if you've never been married, if you're divorced, separate, whatever you going through, if you're in the dating scene, and if anybody got that thought in their mind of, oh man, he better not take me to Applebee's, skip where you going. You got a whole lot more to talk about than worrying about and you getting a free meal. Be happy somebody feeding you. You know how many people are in the world they'll be happy somebody will take them to Wingstop? Like, we got to stop being so ungrateful and self-centered in this world. Somebody will love to be in your position if somebody's being considerate enough to take you out and feed you. We got people we see all the time in this world who ain't even getting a meal every day. And to have somebody on one end or the other say, oh, I'm not going to this place. It ain't about where we're going and what we're eating. We got some things to talk about. We have shown an interest in each other. Let's talk about what the purpose is. What's the motive? Why did you come out with me tonight? Was it just for a good time? Because if you want a good time, you can go find somebody. If my intent is I'm interested in you because something about you drew me to you, could be physical, could be mental attraction, could be you got nice feet. I don't know what it is, but I want to learn more about you to see, is this something that I really want? And on the first date, if you tripping about, I ain't going in Chili's, I'll gladly take you home. Next up on the list. It's like when my son talks to me about these young girls, I tell my son all the time, there's nothing wrong with you, son, having friends. There's nothing wrong if you and your friends go out together and, whatever, kids go eat. But I said, son, it ain't about you getting serious in no relationships right now. You got school, you got sports, you finna go to college. And he's he said, Dad, but I'm not, he sees a lot of his friends in relationships. And I said, son, that shouldn't even be your focal point in life. Somewhere in life, a relationship will be there. Trust me, you're going to date somebody. To me, it's somebody for everybody. If you want to be with somebody, it's somebody for you out there. Trust me, you're going to find somebody. You're going to find the ones that's not for you. You're going to find some that you thought were for you that might have been for you, but you'll find somebody. Or you'll find somebody that you thought was for you that ain't for you. It's somebody for everybody unless you choose to be single. But sometimes these relationships and stuff, it takes you off focus on what you really need to be focused on. And you mess around, get so involved in a relationship that you can't even focus. I mentioned earlier, I took my son and his friends out for his birthday. One of these young men has a girlfriend. And I said, hey man, it's a night with the fellas. We text an old girl. Oh, she at work, Mr. Jackson. Got back in the car. The guys had a nice time. I said, hey, man, what's up? No, I wouldn't date. All his friends, they snitched up. No, Mr. Jackson, he was texting her and all that. We trying to have fun, guys, night out. I said, listen, man, ain't nothing wrong. You young, brother. There's sometimes when you with your boys, y'all having a good time. If she can't wait an hour or two to hear from you because you trying to enjoy yourself, you can't even put your attention on with your friends. In another half semester, all of y'all gonna be going different ways. School, work, military, whatever y'all doing. These are some of y'all last moments, man, to kick it like this. Your little female friend can wait, but he's so engulfed in that relationship at the age of 17, I think he's 18, that it's like, hey, fellas, I holler at y'all. I got to text her. She at work. She should be focused on work. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes we can get so engulfed in these things to where we ain't even enjoying our time with people. We're not handling our business. So if the intent and purpose for me to be goo goo gaga over you, like, you know, you see these kids on the phone. I've seen kids FaceTime each other but fall asleep, or FaceTime each other, they both looking at the ceiling. That, where's that connection at? And I hope as adults we're not doing that in this time and day. But I always tell my wife, you know, I like talking to her on the phone. We're Android users. We don't have FaceTime. But I love having face-to-face conversations with her. I don't mind hearing her voice on the phone, but there's something about connecting her, talking to her face-to-face, because I can see how she looks. I can see her mannerisms, her body language. If I'm talking, if my tone's too high, if I said the wrong thing, I can see all of that. Sometimes many things can be misinterpreted in text messages and FaceTime. You know, that's what I'm saying. Whether I take you to the Cheesecake Factory, Chili's, Apple's, no matter what, we're here to talk, to get to know each other, to plan something. I got to see where your head is at, where my head is at, what your heart is, my heart is. You know, ask you them questions. I just want to be sitting there, you know, cheesecake, man, girl, you sure looking good tonight. Like that outfit you got on. While we sitting there eating our cheesecake, what's your retirement plan? What age you gonna be retired at? Do you got a 401k? Because I got mine, and based off my 401k, by the year 2050, I'll be able to retire at this age and then get. Do we have those type of conversations, or is it all about, hey, man, girl, you sure looking thick tonight? What's up, baby girl? You know, I don't know, because that ain't how I was sitting talking to my wife all the time. I would tell her how nice she looked. We had some serious conversations. Like, how do you like to spend your money? Can we work out the same account? Do you want separate accounts? Are we going to have a joint account? Do we have an expense? Stuff like that. Let's talk about these kids. How do you raise your kid? You got to have conversations, man. I can't get all caught up in how you look and the way you hugged me and gave me a good night kiss. And I'm walking in the car. Oh, man, shucks. Got me a good night kiss. No, I want to walk away saying, no, that girl on, what they say now, standing on business. Man, she on her business. She on her grind. I like that. This seems like my type of woman. I can't. She did good with that cheesecake. I'm going to take her to Papa Do's. Some of y'all might say, well, Jermaine, that's not expensive either. Man, whatever. But it's the point and fact of the matter. Like, what is your intent?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just taking a glance back at this list, it just made me think about when you were talking about the intentions and the depth of the conversations. I think, like I said, we've done a great majority of everything that's on this list. And if I could think back to where we went to the Applebee's and the Wingstops and Chili's and things like that, and even when we did go to some of those more upscale restaurants, for me, some of our best conversations were at restaurants that are on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me now, you're sitting in those upper scale restaurants. You got a reservation that might be on a time frame because they need the table for the next person coming in. And not saying that's not the case at one of these restaurants on the list, but we've had, for me, some of our most heartfelt, deep, mind thinking, like you got me in a space where, can we table that? Let's come back. I gotta rethink some things, because like you put things on my thought process in these places. Not saying we don't have good conversations, but like you said, one of the major things that sparked our relationship was a conversation. And from that conversation, we continue to build.
Right.
And now we're here almost 7 years later, continuing to build. And it was never predicated on where you took me on the first date. Because if truth be told, our first date was a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked for months before we even went on a date. And in that time frame, we had set boundaries. We had set foundations. We had discussed so many things because at a certain point in life, like I said before, time is something that you cannot waste.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be specific, strategic, and purposeful with everything that you do, especially when in nowadays when women and men are out here dating. You can't get caught up in so many of the smaller trivial things, especially when you're trying to build a bigger picture. So for me, I just think if I could say anything before we get up out of here, it's don't get caught up in the small stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Make note, address it early so that if you do long term, it's not something that is that divider or that final whatever. But if you start with purpose driven conversation as your foundation, your non negotiables, things that you both want together and individually, and be able to support each other, it's just up from there.
Man, I think that's it. So, man, appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to us. Got anything to say, put it in the comments. Y'all know where to follow the podcast, New Beginnings with Jay Jackson, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Let us know if y'all want us to do more talks like that. Like I said, it's just me and my wife's opinion. And I trust me, I still date her and take her out. I ain't stopped dating her. But watch out now, girl. All right, watch out there, man. Touching my knee like that.
We got a movie date when we get off of here.
All right. So yeah, we still dating, we still out here. So, and I put a ring on it. So yeah, this a cheesecake, Chili's, apples, Wingstop girl, and she got a ring out of it. So trust me, ain't nothing wrong with you being a girl that'll go to those restaurants, because there's some brothers out there that appreciate it and they'll put a ring on it. Trust and believe. So that's the last thing I gotta say. So man, love y'all, appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for taking the time to listen. Like I said, put in the comments if y'all want us to put more content out there. I know y'all haven't seen us together talk about these type of things. Life get busy. We got kids. Like I said, it's blended family, lots going on. But just let us know. And if you got any topics you want us to talk about, give our 2 cents on. We'd be more than glad.
Absolutely.
But other than that, this is just an episode of having a conversation with me and my wife. What is the purpose and motive of dating? And for all of y'all out there that's dating, I'm praying for y'all. Hope you find the one that you're looking for. Hope that everything that you got on your list, I hope you're everything on their list. Hope y'all both coming to the table with something. Be careful out there. Be safe and who you talking to, these conversations, whether it's date naps, whatever you're doing, meeting them at the library, grocery store, just be careful out there. Because definitely it's some crazies out there as well. And try not to get catfished. All that type of stuff. I'm glad I found mine, that I ain't got to be out there in the struggle for real. But if you want to be with someone, nothing wrong with having companionship, nothing wrong with wanting to be loved and be cared for.
Absolutely.
And I hope and pray that you find the one that you're looking for. So man, this is Jermaine and Brandy Jackson signing off, New Beginnings Podcast. Until next time.